Hello and welcome to a new video, and indeed welcome to a new episode of Wii U Weekly. There was a plethora of titles released for the Wii U this week. It was very strange. All the biggest games of the summer seem to all come out on the same day, except for LEGO Star Wars, which is coming out next week. So, but needless to say, I have the list here and I have you covered. So for Wii U eShop download games only, there were Dual Core, which is kind of like a twin stick shooter type thing with multiplayer. Rubik's Cube, which is a game where you make Rubik's Cubes. Steel Lords, a kind of a fighting game, and Splashy Duck, probably a Flappy Bird ripoff, although I didn't really look into it too much. On the retail side of things, although these are all also available for download, there's Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE, Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, and Mighty No. 9. Also Terraria got a physical edition. After not much deliberation, I decided that the two games I would focus on would be Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE and Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympics. So without further ado, here's the games.
Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games is a fun game. Unfortunately, the game is held back from any semblance of grandeur due to what seems to me to have been a rushed development cycle, or at the very least a small budget. The problems with the game do not extend from technical issues. The game is very polished. The only technical problem that I have noted is that the savviness of the defense AI during Rugby Sevens matches is questionable, and they make some baffling decisions. The fault instead lies in the lack of long-term play value. While multiplayer is fun, there is a fundamental lack of meat to the game overall. The game holds the bizarre distinction of having more features and tweaks than any other game in the series bar the first game, yet having the least amount of mini-games out of all the entries. My theory is that this came about due to a short development time and/or small budget, mixed with criticisms from the last game. For a late Wii U sports title, it may surprise you to hear that this game shows signs of a considerable amount of ambition. The majority of the criticism over the Sochi Winter Olympics entry in the franchise was centered around the need for a myriad of controllers. This did allow for some creative minigame design, however ultimately critics and fans failed to warm to the idea of switching between the gamepad and the Wiimote at various intervals during the biathlon, among other events. This has led to the reworking of every minigame to play on every available Wii U controller, except the Pro Controller bizarrely, and the boiling down of the controls to a few inputs common to all existing Nintendo controllers, aka a directional input and one or two buttons, with the minigames occasionally dabbling in a third button. But have no fear, we aren't returning to the NES controller anytime soon. Ultimately, the new controls have led to fun new takes on the various sports, with the only casualties being the running races, which now cannot hide their tedious design behind the surprisingly engaging arm shaking of previous titles. The archery has also suffered. Suffice to say, the aiming is stiff and needs gyro controls, which I plan on exploring in a future video. Shameless plug. The new hub world shows more signs of where they intend to expand if a 2020 sequel is greenlit. The hub has plenty of personality, trivia for Mario, Sonic, Olympic and Geography fans, and Big the Cat! Seriously though, the facts in this game are a welcome addition. To sum up, Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games is a game with many interesting ideas, but it could be so much more than it is. While it's most certainly enjoyable, the lack of play value beyond beating the Olympic records and collecting arbitrary collectibles makes the game only a bit above average. Fans of the series will enjoy the multiplayer, but it won't convert anybody new. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE is a game that certainly does not embody what I or many others imagined when the game was announced under the title Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. While I'm still intrigued at the possibilities presented by a true crossover of these franchises, developer Atlus's decision to make its connections to both series mostly superficial may have been to the benefit of the final work. Instead of the typically fun but ultimately shallow storylines indicative of many crossovers that typically give ill-conceived excuses for why characters from two series are teaming up or fighting each other so as to save more time for fan service or interesting interactions between characters of the two temporarily cobbled together series in question, Tokyo Mirage Sessions opts for its own unique storyline, free from the shackles of the two series it was supposedly forged from. If Tokyo Mirage Sessions' goal was to be a faithful crossover between Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem, then it fails spectacularly. But if its goal was to create a pseudo-new IP that borrows from Fire Emblem in various areas, then they've succeeded quite resoundingly. While the game asks a lot of the player in terms of buying into its world, the tale itself is interesting, if not revolutionary. If you are a fan of colourful yet at times silly animes, then you'll love this game's narrative. It's cheesy, it's loud, and it's completely unabashed in its insanity. Underlying all of this is a battle system which facilitates gorgeous visual spectacles. The battle system revolves around a weapon triangle as well as an elemental attack triangle, and mastery of these systems is imperative to defeating the game's harder enemies. Landing super effective hits not only benefits your chances in battle, but also triggers one of the beautifully animated session attacks, where multiple members of your party will attack at once. The battles are a gorgeous blend of simple yet deep and engaging mechanics and vibrant visuals. They are the highlights of this game while one is trekking through the game's dungeons, known as idolospheres. The dungeons present one with simple puzzles, and they offer some nice respite in between the hectic battles. There are a few flaws in the game that I would like to address, however. For starters, load times may be a few seconds longer than desirable. This is frustrating during story moments, as the game frequently transitions between anime-style cutscenes, pre-rendered 3D music videos, and in-engine segments featuring dialogue boxes and superficial dialogue options. Loading sequences break up the flow of these scenes, and this commonly happens during important story sections. The dialogue is also overtly cheesy. This is no doubt on purpose, but some may find it off-putting. The only other complaint I have is that while the story and gameplay are not at odds with each other, they never connect. The world is merely a backdrop, and almost none of the non-player character NPCs have anything to say that adds to the lore of the world, or gives the player any new insight into it. The battles also convey none of the game's themes through their mechanics. There is a good game and a good story here, but the player has almost no effect on the story. Put simply, the game's mechanics don't enhance the story, and the game's story doesn't enhance the mechanics. To surmise, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE is far from a masterpiece. It is an engaging JRPG, which doesn't break much new ground other than its novel, if traditionally rooted, combat system. I would recommend it to any fan of RPGs, or even fans of light-hearted animes, as long as they either like or can get past the J-pop. While this style of music isn't my thing, it certainly didn't sully my enjoyment of the game. If I had to recommend one of these games, I certainly think that Tokyo Mirage Sessions is the better game. However, I do understand that it is a very niche title and will not entice all of you.
So that was the latest episode of Wii U Weekly. The game I'm going to recommend this week is obviously going to be Tokyo Mirage Sessions. If you're not into things that are overtly Japanese, you may be more into Mario and Sonic, or maybe, heck, you want to give Jewel Core a try. I think that one looks like the most interesting eShop title this week. But I mean, Tokyo Mirage Sessions is quite good. If evidenced by nothing else, then it actually managed to break into the top 20 in the UK video game sales charts overall. Considering it's a game from a very niche genre, coming to a console with a very small install base, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So, thank you for watching. Please like the video if you liked it. Please don't forget to leave me a comment down below on what you thought of this week's games or anything else you want to see me review. And please subscribe if you have not already.